Hello and welcome to the British Gaming Podcast. It is the 17th of August 2016. I'm Sam Webster. With me tonight is Terry Kane.
Good evening.
And I have just very foolishly closed the topic list. So I would go through the topics if I still had them in front of me. Give me one moment. This is a great start.
Do you want me
How's
to
your
take...
week been?
Well, it's been interesting. I'll just give you a hint for the first thing we normally talk about. I've had some interesting things I've been trying out, interesting games. So, once
Yes, things we usually play. That is on the topic list, which I now have in front of me. Because I had it open, and when I switched to the recorder to start recording the show, instead of just alt-tabbing, I alt-F4'd.
Oh, wait, how did you? How?
I know, those buttons aren't even close to each other. I was just like, well, done with that.
Jeez.
We are all about professionalism. Right, topic list. So, as Terry said, what we've been playing. We've got my random question of the week, which actually I quite liked having up front. I thought it broke us in nicely and got us warmed up.
Yeah, it is a good social lubricant.
Mm. The one thing that made us go, we have to record a podcast tonight. This has to happen tonight. Oh my god, we've got to talk about this. Metal Gear fucking Survive.
Yeesh,
Oh,
yeah.
that's going to be fun. Somehow, last time we missed the NES Mini, and while we may have missed the boat on that, people are calling the at-game Sega Mega Drive or Sega Genesis Sega's response. It's really not, people, and we'll go into why.
Mm.
EA hinting very strongly, well, hinting, they outright said it to, I think it was Eurogamer or Shop2, that they do want to do HD remasters now that they've seen demand for them.
They're a bit late on that, aren't they?
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
At least it's not going to be like a HD remaster 2 weeks after the PS3 version came out. The Witcher 3 Game of the Year edition has separate saves from the vanilla release, and we do have fan questions from Koshoro Guy, who's alive and well. No word from Lupacillo. So, handing over to you, because I've been waffling. What have you been playing this week?
Okay, so there's been a couple of fan-made games based on Nintendo franchises, I should say, that have been released quite recently. One of them is another Metroid 2 remake, it's called. And to be fair, I didn't even know there were previous Metroid 2 remakes, but then I'm not particularly surprised either. So that was originally Metroid 2. That was the one on the original Game Boy. So it's not really aged as well as like Super Metroid, for instance. Like it feels a bit sort of more clunky and a bit slower. So another Metroid 2 remake kind of makes it feel a bit more like Super Metroid, or actually more like Metroid Zero Mission and Fusion, really, in terms of the speed, the aesthetic design, the pacing, and all that stuff. And so far, it's been playing and handling so well, and it looks beautiful.
It was originally a Game Boy game, so I guess anything they do to it is an improvement, right?
Yeah, I mean, like you see how so many games like remakes, fan games, or even indie games just sort of try to emulate that 16-bit aesthetic, but they just don't seem to get right. This feels closer than any other modern game I've seen in terms of getting that kind of aesthetic style right, like kind of authentic.
Yeah, it looks a lot like sort of Metroid Zero Mission, Metroid Fusion, and as you mentioned there, Super Metroid. It seems to
Mm.
fit right in at home with all of those.
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, it's a shame that Nintendo cease and desist. I mean, I know copyright law; they have to protect their IP and all that stuff. I'm not going to argue that case, but like, I don't know. I think it would have been cool if they'd have thought, maybe we should like talk to these developers about buying and like selling this as an eShop release or something, because I think people would freaking like that.
Oh, people would probably be all over it, and let's face it, the work's already done, so why not? But
Mm.
they've been takedown happy anyway. They took down Pokemon Uranium recently
Yeah,
as
that's
well.
actually the other one I was playing earlier tonight.
Ah, okay. Did
Yeah.
you see the interview they did on Kotaku with those guys, where they turned around and said, actually, this game's been out for ages, and because everyone's been talking about the takedown notices, it's never been more popular. This was
Really?
pretty much dead on its last legs, and suddenly, thanks to this cease and desist, people are like, "Oh, I've never heard about this. Let's download it and try it."
Damn, I didn't know it'd been out that long. I thought it was quite a recent release. Well,
Apparently not.
well, we here at the British Gaming Podcast pride ourselves in our research, huh?
Yeah, no kidding.
So one thing I just want to mention as well, the guy that I think it was one guy that made another Metroid 2 remake. Apparently, he went on records like going online on like his Twitter and stuff, basically saying like, in response to people being all pissy at Nintendo, you know how the internet reacts. Basically saying, look, don't get pissy with them; they have every right to do it. Instead, how about you just go on Virtual Console and 3DS if you have a 3DS, buy Metroid 2, and give them the message that this is the type of game you want.
You say that as if having the 3DS is the less likely of the two. People are less likely to have a Wii U than a 3DS. That should be the other way around.
Well, you don't. There's no Game Boy Virtual Console on the Wii U.
Isn't there? So what? It's Wii, 3DS, or bust.
Well, the original Wii doesn't have Game Boy games or Virtual Console either.
Doesn't it?
No.
Oh, okay.
There's
You can tell I pretty much gave up on Nintendo from the GameCube onwards.
Yeah. No, there's Game Boy Advance games on the Wii U Virtual Console and even original DS games as well, which is weird. But no original Game Boy games on there, probably due to the fact that the resolution's like 100 by 100 or something like that.
I do know the resolution. I'm not gonna roll it off. Hacking Pokemon runs. Fun times.
But yep, on that note, Pokemon Uranium, pretty cool so far.
Yeah?
Yeah, I can tell it's blatantly ROM hack of like Pokemon Emerald or one of that generation of games. It has that sort of look about it, but you can really tell that they put a lot of work into it. And from what I've read, all of the Pokemon in it are all original.
Supposedly, it looks very much like. Did you ever play Super Mario Star Road, the Super Mario 64 ROM hack, where it's entirely new hub world and levels?
No, I haven't, but I kind of want to now.
It's decent. It's You can tell Nintendo didn't make it, but it's all right.
Hmm.
It's sort of like a an illegal Super Mario 64 expansion pack. Uh,
Yeah.
but the feeling I get from Pokemon Uranium from the screenshots and everything is quite similar to that.
You can tell.
Yes.
There's another thing as well. Like, there's little details that I quite appreciated. Like, one thing is when you start, there's normal mode, or you get to choose Nuzlocke mode.
All right, so they built it in.
Yeah, so you don't have to
Nice.
like keep remembering to do it yourself. It'll just sort of moderate it for you.
Don't lie. It's not a case of remembering. It's a case of not being able to yourself to do it.
Well, yeah, there's that too.
I don't want to get rid of my Bulbasaur. Fuck you and your rules, Nuzlocke.
Yeah, and just little things like, how in most Pokemon games at the start when you're in the bedroom, you see a games console there based on whatever generation it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a little thing where it's just like, hey, it's a Wii U, but there's another console coming out soon.
Oh. Oh.
So,
Maybe they've updated it fairly recently then, because this isn't the first I've heard about Pokemon Uranium, and it certainly wasn't this year. But for them to make reference to the NX, there must have been some kind of update.
well, there was a 1.01 patch, I know that, but I saw that before that patch was applied. What I'm thinking is it's been out for a while, but maybe that was a beta version that's been out for a while. Maybe it's what the version 1.0 release that's, quite new.
Oh, sort of like when Sonic ROM hacks do like his one act or one zone and the rest is coming. I probably played a version like that then, where it's like, oh, here's the start of it and the general idea, and the rest will whenever we get round to it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
it's been
hey,
too long for me to.
but hey, I mean, if anyone sort of knows the full story more than us, then feel free to let us know in the comments, and we'll try and sift through the arguments to find out the truth.
So Kosharo Guy and Lupacilla get on it. That's pretty much it.
So
All right,
what have you been playing then?
um, Well, I've set up my living room again. I rearranged things. I had to swap out consoles between my upstairs studio room and downstairs on the big TV. And I said, screw it. Got a six strip because I only had a four strip down there before. So I can have all the consoles plugged in. And now the only, well, when I say all, I've got a Wii, a PS2, a PS3, and a PS4 down there, which will cover most of my games because the Wii will handle all my GameCube stuff. The only things I can't play downstairs on the big TV right now are the Master System, Mega Drive, Sega Saturn, and Dreamcast. They're still up in the studio room. But it does mean that I'm more likely to play those consoles now. It's just if I have to switch between the PS2 and the Wii, I have to swap the component cables over because there's only one input for that in the TV unless I get. Do they do splitters for those? They must do.
They do component splitters, but you're looking on about a tenner. But one thing that might be worth considering is with PS2, most of the games don't have a 480p option. Like there's a few that do, but but a lot of them just kind of stick to 576i. So you could just get yourself a decent RGB SCART cable.
Yeah, but it's one of those TVs where the component and the RGB are the same. So even if you've got composite, you just don't use the other three slots. Do you know what I mean?
No. When I say RGB, I don't mean the composite slot. I mean one that's the old SCART slots with all the metal prongs.
Oh, oh yeah. I'll have to see if I've got a SCART on there.
Yeah, because those.
Yeah.
Yeah, because but be careful with those because there's so many on eBay that are basically composite, but just with that connector, but they're selling them as RGBs as fakes. It's just bloody annoying.
Oh, fun. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, I'll leave that to you to just find one and link me to it later if that's all right.
Yeah, the
Uh,
only problem is I've got to find one and hope that they're not a liar.
that's also true. Um,
Yeah, but I might have a spare, so if I do, I'll have a look and send it to you. But I won't bore everyone with that. So,
yeah.
why have you got your Dreamcast upstairs still anyway?
It stopped working.
Really?
Yeah, it's really annoying. I think I've looked up the problem. It powers on, you
Hmm.
see the Dreamcast logo, and then after about 5 seconds, the video just cuts to black, and there's
Oh.
nothing else. And from the research I've done, it sounds like the power supply units go in the Dreamcast, and while it will still power on, it can't maintain power to all the components.
Oh.
And that causes things to, suddenly either the video or the sound will stop working or it'll just power off. And that sounds a lot like the issue I've got because it's not the cable. I've tried multiple cables. Not the TV. I've tried multiple TVs. Nothing to do with any of the games. Tried that.
When you say not the
Uh,
cable, you mean not the power cable or not the video cable?
both.
Ah.
Yeah. Um, Thankfully, I've got spares, so I tested that out. I've tested it on multiple TVs.
Hmm.
So yeah, process of elimination. The only other problem I can think of is this power supply unit one. And when I looked
Yeah.
into what's involved with getting a fresh one, swapping it out, it's far cheaper to just buy a new Dreamcast.
Yeah. They still sell pretty cheaply for the console, don't they?
20 to 30 in the local area. It's not too bad.
Yeah, exactly. One thing I found with Dreamcast is the RF leads just tend to go after like a freaking year or so of use. Like just the RF leads for them are just terrible. The first thing I'd recommend anyone do if they get a Dreamcast is get an RGB SCART lead.
Mm. Seconded. The
Yeah.
other thing as well is that I'm looking at it, and when I think about replacing it, I sort of look at the games I've got. Sonic Adventure 1 and 2, I've got downloaded on PSN, I've got them on Steam. I've got Sonic Adventure 2 Battle on the GameCube. I don't need the Dreamcast for those.
What about
Um,
Shenmue?
I was going to get to Shenmue, um, so getting there on the original plan. Marvel vs. Capcom 3. 3? That would have been impressive.
Yeah.
Marvel vs. Capcom 2, again, PSN digital download on the PS3, so yeah. Arguably better controller. I like using the PS3's D-pad for that.
Yeah,
Um,
the PlayStation D-pads are the best for fighting games. Like, yeah, next to a proper, decent Hori joystick, a PlayStation D-pad is the best for fighting games.
So good. Virtua Fighter 3, I didn't touch anyway. House of the Dead 2, the light gun only works on CRTs.
Yeah,
Uh,
if you want to play House of the Dead 2, then there's a Wii version that doesn't matter what type of TV you have.
yeah, because it uses a Wiimote, and I think it bundles House of the Dead 3 in as well, doesn't it?
It's both those games all on one disc. I've actually got that as well, and Host of the Dead Overkill. They're actually pretty fun little casual co-op games.
Right, so I can just get that, and that's
Yeah.
House of the Dead sorted. Um, so, what else do I actually have on the Dreamcast? I'm trying to think now what I actually.
Do you have Power Stone?
No, I don't. I never got Power Stone.
Yeah, I had it once and I actually quite enjoyed it, but I don't have a Dreamcast anymore. Apparently, there's a PSP version, but it's like a four-player fighter, so I'd really like a home console version of it so that I could play it with people if I have people around.
Oh, that's it. Jet Set Radio, PSN again for Jet Set Radio. So
Yeah,
really, it only does leave Shenmue 1 and 2.
yeah.
And to be honest, I've played them. They're a huge time commitment. The point of my life I'm at, I don't. Well, I say I don't get that time. I just sunk 40 hours into Dragon Quest Heroes in 3 weeks, which is what I've been playing this
Hey!
week. Hey, we got there. I finished Dragon Quest Heroes, and I've unlocked a butt ton of side quests and optional bosses, so I will be continuing to play Dragon Quest Heroes for the foreseeable future. I know why I talked about moving the shit downstairs. The Wii, I got because I'm getting impatient for the PlayStation 4 re-release of Dead Rising next month, and I'm also curious and might make a remade repackaged rebooted episode out of it. I picked up Dead Rising Chop Till You Drop, the Wii port of the original Dead Rising.
Oh God.
That's going to be terrible. That's an Xbox 360 18 rated game ported to the fucking Wii, of all things. I'm looking forward to that for all the wrong reasons.
I don't know. I get the feeling at that time Capcom probably would have tried their best with it. I mean, because this is around the time when Capcom still kind of gave a crap about Nintendo.
Well, what I've always heard about it, this is the first time owning it, and I'm going to go into it this week. But I have heard that obviously the graphics are worse, lower resolution textures, lower polygon models, so on and so forth. Fine. Apparently, the time limit element is gone, which actually I probably won't lose any sleep over. That's probably going to make it more relaxing.
Hmm.
Supposedly, aiming is better because you've got the Wiimote for that.
Yeah, it did feel a bit clunky on the Xbox, I must admit.
It's a clunky game.
Yeah.
Apparently, it's overall laid back, easier, and you don't just not as strict, not as many zombies on screen, obviously.
Hmm.
But it'll be interesting to see the differences. The only other thing would be I picked up Shovel Knight finally because I saw a physical copy, brand new, sealed for a tenner, and thought, you know what, sod it, I'll see what all the fuss is about. I haven't played much of it so far. Seems all right.
Yeah. I once worked with someone who was so into that game that he had like 5 different copies of it. He had it on like pretty much every platform he owned that he could get it for.
Wow, that's. I mean, I don't know if this is me being me again and just being a grumpy old twat. It's good what I've played so far, but I don't get what all the hype is about yet.
Mm.
Like, it's competent, it's fun, it's certainly up there, but it's not quite Spelunky HD in terms of raw playability.
Mm.
Yeah, we'll see. It might grow on me.
Yeah. Cool. Now you started a proper rage war. Spelunky HD versus Shovel Knight.
Oh shit! I didn't even think about that.
It's like the modern day Sonic versus Mario.
Fanboys, take up your pitchforks. Blue team, that corner. Red team, that. Who would be blue and who would be red? I guess Spelunky mine's brown, that can be red, and Shovel Knight's armor is sort of like a bluey silver, so that can be blue.
Yeah.
Ah,
All
crap,
right.
my favourite colour's blue, and I just put myself on red too.
Yeesh.
Anyway,
Yeah, you did that with Civil War as well.
What can I say? Tony Stark had a fucking point.
Oh, did we debate this on the last podcast, or was this just in our own time? Because
I think it was a chat outside, but to
yeah,
summarize, I still fully believe that in the comic universe, Superhero Registration Act was inevitable. You can't just go around doing whatever the bloody hell you like with no consequences, no one to answer to, and no formal training. The public outrage made sense. What Tony was doing was saying, well, this is going to be a bad deal, but let's try and make the best we can of it,
mm,
which is the appropriate, rational, reasonable response. And in fact, what they were proposing, hey, you have to tell us your identity, but not the public. We will make you a full-time government salaried employee. You can do superhero full-time, out in the open. You don't have to be like, oh, I'm at work and I'm supposed to be getting this article done, but there's a bad guy. I need to make myself an excuse to get out there. Well, you're making that excuse, buddy. People are dying. If it's your job anyway, you're already on the scene. All right? You're more efficient.
mm,
There's everything about that made sense. Whereas Captain America was a bitter, entitled old man trying to hold on to an age that's gone, and he was trying to have something that he didn't deserve. It wasn't his to take in the first place. And besides which, Cap, you've already been working with S.H.I.E.L.D. You're as close to what they want to implement as you can get. So why are you suddenly rebelling against a thing that you've been cool with up until now? Yeah,
mm.
Cap's argument was fucking bullshit. It was all about sentimentality and pride, and like he gives this speech to Spider-Man that everyone thinks is the greatest speech ever, where he's like, well, sometimes when the world tells you to move, you need to plant your feet and say, no, you move. No, that's being stubborn and arrogant and blind to the fact that you might actually be wrong. Sorry. Rant
No worries.
over.
Yeah. Whereas my perspective is, well, so basically the idea is we're going to trust the government to say what's right and wrong. I'm not so sure I trust them.
That comes up. They say,
Yeah.
well, who's going to start telling us who the bad guys are? And it's they say, well, we go after people who break the law, and what they're telling us is that if we carry on as we are, we will be breaking the law. Hell, we already are breaking the law through vigilantism.
Mm.
Um, so yeah, they already go after the guys that the government want caught anyway.
Mm.
Anyway, this is a video gaming podcast. We'll
Yeah,
bring it back round.
yeah, we're getting a bit ideological there. Let's get back on this.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, although the next topic is kind of controversial in its own right.
How so? Because it's
Well, Metal Gear Survive.
oh, I thought we were doing the question first.
Oh yeah, you want to do the question
Yeah.
first?
I was like,
Sorry.
how on earth is the question controversial? You don't know what the question is yet.
No, it's just because I'm reading the topic list. I put it at the bottom because that's the order we used to do it, and yeah.
Well, this is the new world, baby.
What's your question?
So as we mentioned, EA are strongly talking about doing HD remasters and HD re-releases. What games would you like to see, but also what would you really like them to leave alone? So personally, I would go with the Mass Effect trilogy. Even though it was on PS3, I think it'd be nice to have before Andromeda comes out.
Hmm.
But what I really, really want is Burnout 3 Takedown and Burnout Revenge.
Yeah, I mean
Did you
technically we
just
got.
burp mid-sentence?
Damn it! I was hoping the mic wouldn't pick that up. I
That's
do
impressive.
apologize.
Professionals.
um, yeah, so Mass Effect, I'm kind of on board with that as well. As long as if they do that, they include all the DLC because my God, it's expensive to get all the DLC.
Yeah, and they've never done a disc version with all the DLC, as
Mm.
far as I'm aware. Correct
Yeah,
me if I'm wrong, some always will.
yeah. I wish they would have done that with the with the trilogy release.
I think they included a code for some of the Mass Effect 2 DLC, but I'm not sure if that was the Mass Effect 2 stuff that they just gave to PS3 owners as an apology for it being late anyway.
Yeah, like one of the things on that as well would, I guess, be the extra thing that came for as a replacement for Mass Effect 1 for before Mass Effect 1 came out as well. So there's that.
Oh, that Genesis comic where you
That's
got to
it.
basically make all the choices really quickly.
Yeah, which
Yeah.
a bit of a slap in the face, really.
They charge a couple of quid for that as a standalone thing. It's really disgusting. And then they've got one for, yeah. And then they've got one for the gap between 2 and 3 as well.
Jesus.
Yeah, it's quite awful.
Yeah, I know. It's like their practices just got gradually worse throughout that series. Like one kind of clunky, but had its own charm and stood out from the rest because of that.
Incredibly broken, as I covered last time.
Oh yeah, broken, but it had its own sort of yeah. And
The elevator loading scenes were cute. It's like, we know what you're doing. We know exactly you're just hiding the loading time. But it's cute that you're trying.
yeah. And then two was absolutely amazing, but the DLC practices pissed me off with that. And then three just sucked.
At least the DLC for 2 was good, which is more
Oh
than I
yeah.
can say for the DLC for 3.
Oh, I'm with you on that, definitely. It was good DLC, but like I don't know, it feels like there's so much missing from the core story if you don't have certain DLC packs.
Especially in 3. Not getting the Prothean teammate, which was DLC they made available on day 1.
Hmm.
Ugh, yeah. And that really bullshitty one I felt really ripped off. The submarine one. Do you know the one I mean?
Think so.
In 3. Ugh, absolutely.
Oh, actually, I think
Yeah.
I've skipped that one.
Oh, okay. Leviathan, I think they called it. I'm pretty sure my YouTube channel has a really old review of it somewhere.
Oh yeah, the name rings a bell. I think that was the one I skipped. I think I got the one before that, and I didn't even bother getting to it because I just really couldn't be bothered with three anymore.
Fair enough.
But
I think Dragon Age. I never got into Dragon Age personally, but I think there would be people out there who'd want Dragon Age.
yeah, I reckon so. I mean, to be honest, like I don't know, because we're starting to talk about seventh gen games, and these feel like the type of games that would be okay with just sort of porting over the PC versions to like the PS4 and Xbox One, really.
Here's the thing with HD remasters and re-releases. I think it really only counts as being worthwhile if they're including all the DLC,
Yeah.
or if it's the first time that the game is available in HD. For example, if they did a Yakuza, well, they already did a Yakuza HD re-release. It's just Japan exclusive and no English subtitles, so there's no way in hell I'm importing it.
Yeah.
Um, but like a Yakuza one, that makes sense because all of the Yakuza games are in standard definition on the PlayStation 2. There's stuff you can do to make it look good now, but it's still never quite going to be the same. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I also think it's worthwhile if, like, I mean, yeah, if you got a PS3 game, I don't see a problem with it being brought over to the PS4 because, not every single PS4 owner previously owned a PS3, and so, yeah, not every PS4 owner played, like, all the PS3 games. So, like, they might have just sort of, see this game. Oh, I didn't play that last gen. Maybe I'll give it a go now. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think it's really handy for people like Richie, who, he had an Xbox 360 last generation. He's considering getting a PlayStation 4 this generation.
Hmm.
So things like the Uncharted collection, The Last of Us Remastered, these are all things they were PlayStation exclusives that he missed out on last gen.
Hmm.
Fine. But with EA, most of their stuff was multi-platform. So if you had a PS3 or you had a 360, then you could play these games in HD already.
Yeah,
Um,
but then
let's
even then, like, there's always the people where the PS4 is their first console.
That's true, I guess, but let's look at the Dead Rising one specifically, yeah?
Yeah.
So I'm importing a US physical copy because it's $20 for the US physical copy or 16 quid for the UK digital download. Well, if I'm paying the same amount, even if I have to pay shipping or import duties or whatever, I'm getting physical. Um, and not like that. Anyway,
It's physical,
yeah,
physical.
thanks.
Sorry.
So, Dead Rising 2 is also getting a physical re release, and Dead Rising 2 off the record is just getting digital in all territories. But I would rather just spend a fiver per game
Mm.
on physical PS3 copies of those two. I don't see the reason to spend 20 on a physical PS4 re-release of Dead Rising 2 when I'm not sure if the PS3 version outputs in 720 or 1080, but I don't see enough of a difference between, and I know we've argued about this before, and I'm blind as a bat apparently, but I just do not see a significant enough jump between 720p 30 and 1080p 60, which is the only gain I'm going to get from spending 15 quid more. And I'm going to get flayed in the comments for saying that. I'm going to get absolutely slayed.
Mm, yeah,
So
maybe.
it's not. I see that there's a difference, but I don't see it as being a significant difference, and it's certainly not a difference that warrants an extra 15 quid.
Yeah, no, I get that. I do get that. I mean, although I mean
You
with the frame,
disagree with
yeah.
it?
I mean, like with the frame rate thing, for me, it's a feeling more than a visual kind of stimulation, just because of the fact of, you getting the stimulus for your input, you getting the response back. It's just like, I don't, it's just like it feels like my character is just not responding to my will as effectively in 30 as it is in 60.
But these are horribly clunky games anyway.
Oh yeah, that's the thing. There's certain games where it really doesn't matter anyway. But like for
People are
example,
talking about people are arguing about the frame rates and the different versions of the different versions of Final Fantasy X. So the PS2, the PS3, I think it was on Xbox 360 that remaster, the PS4, the Xbox One, and the PC versions. Which one has the better frame rate? It's a turn-based RPG, you morons.
I get that, but like when you're sort of sitting there waiting for your turn, and then pressing the button to make your choice, and then you're waiting for the animation to be done. That pace it builds up, and like you sort of start to get impatient after a while. And you're just like, come on, get a move on. I want this battle done.
Come on, movies are usually 24 frames per second, right? And we can watch that just fine. So a game at 30 FPS is already above a movie.
Oh, when it comes to turn-based RPGs, 30 is fine, but like when it's
Yeah.
25, ugh, no.
Like I get if it's like a twitchy fighting game like a Street Fighter or a Marvel vs. Capcom or a Tekken
Mm,
or something like that where you need precision timing for combos and shit.
yeah.
Fine. You need a stable frame rate, it's got to be a good frame rate. Dragon Quest Heroes is, I don't know if it's 30 or 60. I don't care if it's 30 or 60. Even with hundreds of monsters on screen, it is consistent.
Mm.
And the controls feel responsive to me. Responsive enough. I'm happy with it. I know I said to you when Infamous Second Son came out, I was like, this game plays like silked butter. And you were
Yeah.
like, well, that's the difference between 30 and 60.
Yeah.
And
But
not every game needs it.
yeah, that's the thing. It isn't a necessity for a lot, but I can feel a difference definitely. Like the Arkham games are a major example for me. Arkham Asylum, originally I played that on PS3, absolutely loved it, had no problem with how it handled and everything. But then down the line, I got the PC version, and the difference was just astounding.
I do notice a difference between the PC version and my PS3 copies.
Mm.
Um, However, while it runs better, it looks prettier, it is smoother. Those are facts. I'm not going to deny any of them.
Mm.
I'm still perfectly happy with the PS3 version.
Oh, I'm happy to play the PS3 version, like if there's no other option. But like now that I've got a PC version here, I'm not gonna like go and play the PS3 version when I've got a better version.
You may as well have just said, well, if it's Tesco value cornflakes, it's still cornflakes. I mean, it's not fucking Kellogg's, but I'll eat it.
Kinda, yeah.
Oh, for fuck's sake. I'm helping you make your point when I'm trying to. So, yeah,
But
any other EA HD remakes you would like to see? Or re releases, rather,
um,
remasters.
I mean, I'm just trying to think of older EA games because, like, I don't know, with the seventh gen ones, I mean, I've got a PS3 and a PC, so I can access them easily. I mean, I've still got Mirror's Edge on PC, happily playable.
Same. Or is it PS3? I've got it, either way. And to
Yeah.
be honest, a HD re release of Mirror's Edge, I don't know if you can really release these as one game. I think you need at least a trilogy. They're the bare minimum too, you know.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it'd be one of those things where it's like released as one, but not at full price.
Okay. Well, I'm just
Like
thinking like,
Akami, for instance, it got the HD release on PS3 on PSN Store.
all right, let's look at like Resident Evil Origins HD bundles. So it's Resident Evil 1 HD and Resident Evil 0 HD,
Yeah.
both on the disc for 20 quid. That's the kind of stuff I'm looking for.
Oh yeah. I mean that
Yeah.
can be done, but then at the same time, think when it came out on GameCube as a remake, it was on its own.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, I have watched the prices on because now that got access to play GameCube and Wii games, I did have a look at the pricing for Resident Evil 0 and Resident Evil 1 on the GameCube. And good God, have they dropped. I remember seeing them at like 20 quid in most places, and now they're about 6. Uh,
Yeah, I'm not surprised because I mean there's HD versions of those exact games physically released on newer platforms.
well, I saw it happen to Subsistence as well. That dropped from 40 to about 15, thanks to it being the Subsistence version on the HD collection.
Yeah,
It's
although
great.
weirdly it shot up again.
No, I saw one this weekend in CX for 18.
Really? Wow, you got
Yeah.
well. That was oh, that's quite surprising. That's
Usually CEX are trying to charge out the arse for stuff, I know.
yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
I must have sold mine at a good time then.
Or to the right person.
Well, yeah, there's that too. But I mean,
Yeah.
but the thing is, I was looking at prices online at the time anyway, and like it was sort of that price rate anyway, which was only about like a couple of months back as well. So I don't know. That game fluctuates, I swear.
Okay. I just don't think there's a demand for it. It's like Marvel vs. Capcom 2
Hmm.
went into the toilet for prices when the PSN version came out because people didn't want that for their collection. They wanted it to play it.
Yeah,
And then when it came off PSN and Xbox Live Arcade, because the Marvel license is a fickle bastard for video games.
yeah.
Hey, Ultimate Alliance is back at least. Um,
Oh God, yeah, the horrible PC ports. Ugh.
yeah, there's a re-release to avoid, people.
Yeah. See, as much as I'm always advocating the positives of PC gaming, that's one of the things is shitty ports.
Yeah.
Like PC
But
is the worst for that.
to get back to where we were, Marvel vs. Capcom 2
Yeah.
went back up again as soon as that PSN port got pulled.
Mm.
It went back up to sort of its £10 to £15 range. So, happens. I'm hoping. I mean, I never intend to sell my Shenmues, so I don't give a shit what happens to the value of them.
Yeah.
All right. I don't care if they come down from 80. So I'm really hoping that when Shenmue 3 comes out, there's some kind of deal for HD re-releases of 1 and 2, especially because between 1 and 2 you could carry a save data across, and I think it'd be really nice if they re-released them for modern consoles so that you could then take that save data from 1 into 2 and then from 2 into 3.
Yeah, that would be really good, especially as like the only way you can legitimately play Shenmue 1 is through a Dreamcast and owning that, and with Shenmue 2, again, Dreamcast or original Xbox.
I have both.
So yeah, so that's the thing. Like when games have not been re-released on many platforms yet, that's why I'm just like, oh, I want to see them more on more things. Um, with
Do you
the
think it takes resources away from the development of new games?
To be honest, what I think is maybe in a way you could say it does, but at the same time, it's a really cheap money maker, and then those funds can be invested into new projects.
Oh, someone looking at the long game.
Mm,
Very smart. Right.
exactly. I mean, especially with modern consoles basically having the exact same architecture as PC pretty much, so it's easier nowadays to port than it ever was.
Mm. So let's move from something where
Oh,
there's a
sorry.
little bit of room. Oh,
Sorry, I just wanted to with EA HD remakes. I'm not sure
yes.
whether I want them to touch this or leave it alone. Future Cop LAPD.
Fair enough.
Yeah. I'm just like, well, if they do a good job of it, that'd be amazing. But I don't know if EA HD can capture the spirit of like EA back in the 90s.
Probably not. That's why I wouldn't want to see like any Simpsons or hospitals or anything. If I want to get a hospital fix, I can download the PlayStation 1 Classic on PSN. That'll do me.
Yeah,
I can
they
just
even gave
throw
away
my
the classic
PlayStation 1 disc. What's that?
They even gave away the classic on Origin at one point. Because they do that free on the house thing where they give away a free game every month.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so the PC version actually runs on Windows 10 and runs very well.
Fair play. Um, so, shall we move then from something where actually there's been a little bit of room for debate and disagreement, although healthy and respectful and civil? See, internet, it can be done. Um, I'm just setting myself up to get destroyed in the comments. To something that we can both agree on and might make the guys in the comments section put the fucking pitchforks down. Metal Gear fucking Survive. I assume you've had time to watch this trailer.
I read through the article. I forgot to watch through the trailer, but I got the idea from the write up that was below, and
Put it
what
this way, I read the articles on my way home from work on the bus, and then when I got home, I was like, it can't be that bad. It really can't. Put the trailer on out of curiosity, and once you see the trailer, you realize, no, it's not that bad. It's worse. It is somehow worse than the articles make it out to be.
good God. That's the thing. It's Konami nowadays, and they've lost their Kojima filter.
Yeah, they got rid of Kojima, got rid of Silent Hills, and then went, well, fuck it, we can combine the two into Metal Gear Survive. Do you mind if I read out the press release?
Go for it.
Just for anyone who hasn't heard yet, this will fill you in. This is a press release from Konami, which I'm pinching off another website because we're not important enough to get sent press releases.
Speak for yourself. I kid.
Hey. Metal Gear Survive picks up from the ending of Metal Gear Solid 5 Ground Zeroes to an alternate timeline caused by unexplained wormholes forming in the sky.
Oh God, I forgot about the wormholes.
Hang on, there's more. Players find themselves on distorted desert landscapes full of massive, half-formed structures, living biological threats, and the remains of a once strong military force now litter the landscape. In a struggle to stay alive on this harsh terrain filled with deadly creatures, soldiers who were previously on Mother Base must now work cooperatively in order to survive. Metal Gear Survive continues the pedigree of Metal Gear Solid 5's highly praised gameplay design. Notice I didn't mention the fucking story.
Yeah.
With a unique blend of stealth and co-op play mechanics. Players can strategically manage massive threats with the help of 4-player online cooperative play. New weaponry will also be introduced to combat charging creatures and lethal environments as well.
Good God, why?
This is like Left 4 Dead mixed with Umbrella Corps.
Did Konami just hate like what little fan base they have left?
Well, first we thought we were getting a Metal Gear Solid 3 HD remake, and that turned out to be a fucking pachinko machine.
Oh God, yeah.
Have you seen the replies to it on the internet? Some of the comments.
Yes.
I've got some favourites here. Hundreds of them just say, "What?" Just one word, "What?" I quite like this one. This is a user called, I can't read that fucking username actually. I feel like an old man. I'm having to use the magnify feature on my internet browser here so I can actually read. And I still can't make out his name. Aquitus. He just put, well, that's not chapter 3.
Oh Jesus! Yeah, I'm just having a look at the fuck Konami hashtag trend on Twitter.
Oh yeah, Jimmy's gonna be all over this.
Yeah.
There's a guy called Pupe here who's just put, this isn't pachinko. At least it's not a mobile game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh God! Sorry, this just amused me a little bit. Someone's put, "Hi, at Jim Sterling. Have you heard about Konami porting Pro Evolution Soccer 2017 to the PC from the Xbox 360 version instead of the Xbox One version?" It's like they can't even get a fucking football game right.
For fuck's sake. It's not going to be For those who don't know, Jim Sterling does a show called The Jimquisition, and he started the hashtag Fuck Konami because he got proper pissed off with the practices of Konami. This is going to be more than a little bonus segment this week. This is going to need like a whole separate fucking episode from him. There are people saying this sounds like they're just reusing assets from Metal Gear Solid 5. It sounds like they're just using the Metal Gear name to sell something that would otherwise be an original IP. That it feels like they're going to be charged full retail price for what's essentially Metal Gear Solid's equivalent of Call of Duty's zombie mode. I mean, the trailer looks fucking awful, dude. And it takes place between Ground Zeroes and Phantom Pain, like probably the one period that we don't need any fucking further knowledge of, because all you need to know is Big Boss was in a coma. The fact that they managed to find, they were like, we need a period of Metal Gear where we can insert the new game. I know. How about while he's in a coma? Seriously, who the fuck put that forward? And who then said okay?
Oh God. I feel like Cody Hargreaves and Hideo Kojima woke up today and experienced a full body shudder followed by a sense of dread. That's my favourite tweet on this thread.
Oh, there's hundreds. This has really blown up since I left work.
I mean, in terms of like getting mass publicity, they've done.
Oh, they did that.
Yeah, they've done that. It's not good publicity.
Oh god, the dislikes on the YouTube trailer. This is getting into bloody Call of Duty territory for the dislikes.
Oh God.
Oh shit, that's bad. Konami, why?
Oh, please, for the love of God, nobody buy this game, for fuck's sake.
Let's just vote with our wallets. Like, I thought Konami were done with console games anyway. Was that not their statement? Did they not say that they're coming out of that market? Didn't they fire the guy who created the Fox engine that this is supposedly going to run on?
Oh, jeez.
They even say in their press release, and I'll fucking quote it, alright? They even say, this is how much they're just reusing Metal Gear Solid 5 assets. And I know we've not got a lot to go on, people, and I know I'm judging it way in advance and maybe jumping the gun, but for fuck's sake, there's good reason here. In their own press release, it says, Metal Gear Survive continues the pedigree of Metal Gear Solid 5's highly praised gameplay design. That is them admitting that it is the Metal Gear Solid 5 gameplay. Now, it was a very playable game. It was my top game of last year, just for the raw playability. Even if it was unfinished. I mean, that's what they could do, even without Kojima. Finish fucking Metal Gear Solid 5.
Would you really want them to do that, though?
Well, there's so much that was left in terms of concepts, scripts, half-finished cutscenes. Have you seen the... People have uploaded it to YouTube hundreds of times over, but there was a special edition with a DVD documentary, and they show you the concept art, the half-finished maps. They show you the near-finished cutscenes. So there's a lot there that actually they just have to stitch together from the existing design documents. You sell that as DLC for Phantom Pain, or if they really want, sell it as a separate Metal Gear Solid 5 game altogether, because Ground Zeroes to Phantom Pain already proved they're not fucking beyond that. And people would probably react to it better than they have Metal Gear Survive.
Yeah, probably. It's just like at this point, like, how are Konami surviving? Like, a pachinko machine's making them enough money that they can afford to be this fucking stupid?
According to recent reports, no. The pachinko machines have not met their estimates.
They're like petulant children, I swear. They're just making all these stupid mistakes because it's our company, we'll do what we want.
Japan. There was a very lengthy discussion about animation in the past week, which I'm not going to go into because it's not relevant to this podcast.
Yeah, but
But there
I
was,
did see that. Yeah.
yeah, and I take it you saw the comments about Japanese culture.
Oh, totally. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't see this changing anytime soon.
Mm.
And I think it's probably across the board. A friend of ours who is in the games industry commented that they're only treated well at their job and paid a decent rate because the company they work for, notice I'm not naming the person or the company here, is a multinational company. And that if they were to get a job at Square Enix, which bear in mind they absolutely adore all of Square Enix's games and is probably one of the biggest Square Enix fanboys I know, they would decline that fucking job
Mm.
because it's a Japanese company run in a Japanese way.
I can get that based on from what I read on that discussion. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
that's the thing. It's like there's so many people that just sort of they're kind of young and wide-eyed and thinking, "Oh, I want to go to Japan one day where all my favorite things are made and go make them myself." But then they don't. Then it's like the reality hits. It's like, oh God.
It's not all chocolate, sparkles, and rainbows. It's it's
Definitely.
it's a it's a surprising amount of oppression and lack of self-respect, and yeah, it actually sounds quite bleak. To be
Yeah.
completely honest with you, I do not like the sound of Japan at all.
You know what else is bleak? You know those at game Sega Mega Drive consoles?
Oh, you stole a segue, you motherfucker! Nicely done, very nicely done. I'm impressed, but Jesus. Right, so yes, we missed the boat on the mini NES.
Hmm.
Um, I like the look of it. It seems like the weight of the power cord and the HDMI cable would probably pull the fucking thing over. Uh,
Yeah, that's the same problem that Yuya had. Well, there were many problems Yuya had, but that was one of them. But
that was among the problems.
yeah,
Yeah.
but yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'm hoping they have the foresight to just like maybe put a little weight on the bottom or something to just help with that.
Let's hope so. Nintendo usually have decent build quality, if nothing else.
Oh God, it's like a friend of ours. He left his window open one night and went out, and there was this massive rainstorm that went into his room, and the water like proper drenched his.
I know which trend you're talking about, and I know the story.
You do. So he had a PlayStation 2 and a Nintendo 64 on top of the PlayStation 2. This water drenched the N64, went through it, and then onto the PS2. The PS2 stopped working. The N64 was fine.
Fucking hell.
So yeah, when it comes to build quality of Nintendo's consoles, they're spot on.
It's almost like the N64 saw all the water and went, I don't want none of this shit, and just dropped it on the PS2. Like, here, you take it.
Yeah, exactly. It's like I
So,
don't think I've ever had a Nintendo device break on me.
yeah. So the build quality will probably be good. Those not in the know, the mini NES is it's basically a Raspberry Pi in an NES box, and it runs 30 classic NES games.
Mm.
Comes with a controller. You can't add to the games. It doesn't connect to the internet, so you've got 30 games to play, and that's your lot. It's a decent selection. They're probably going to be very popular for Christmas. I can see, a lot of people I know plan to get one or have already pre-ordered it. They're going to be under a lot of Christmas trees.
It's going to be a
Um,
proper nostalgia novelty item. It's coming out in November, so that's the best time for them to do that.
I think we're both skipping on it though because we think the novelty would wear off.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, I think the games lineup is very good, but for me personally, there's only a few games that I'm really that bothered about, and I can just get them on Virtual Console because I've got Wii U and 3DS. So
Yeah, and
that's the thing for me.
sorry. I'm gonna revert back to what I said last week. I grew up Sega. I've already tried going back to the Super Nintendo to see what I missed, and it was far too late. I think the same would happen with the NES. I was on the Master System at that point.
Exactly. So, but I mean, I can see for a lot of people whether it's for nostalgia, like if they had Nintendo stuff, or even if it's just for the novelty of, oh, this is kind of retro and that seems to be cool right now, so I want to give it a go. That's probably going to appeal to a lot
Bandwagon.
of people. Yeah, which to be fair, I'm not going to criticize people for because I don't want to come across as one of those elitists, just like, oh, you're getting on a hype. It's like, yeah, get on the hype. Give it a try, see if you like it.
Who knows? It might open the doors to other things. Um,
Exactly, but
People are pointing to this at games mini Mega Drive slash mini Genesis,
yeah, there's
and
actually a
saying,
few of them actually that At Games have made.
yeah, absolutely, and they're saying, well, this is Sega's response. A couple of things to that.
Mm,
Number one, fucking weak response. Number
yeah,
two, like Terry just said, this is nothing new.
no, I
Um,
think they've been out for about 4 or 5 years now. Like, there's handheld ones and there's console ones. All of them have games built in, and the console unit ones have a cartridge slot.
yeah, so it can actually play, and that's what people are saying. Oh, that would give it the edge over the mini NES. That cartridge slot. You remember the Genesis 3 when that came out?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you remember how crap the compatibility was for that?
Vaguely, yeah.
Well, these at games consoles have about the same compatibility.
Mm.
You can look up charts, but yeah, there's a lot of games you'll want to play that are not going to fucking run on it.
And apparently these at game ones, they don't run it like properly through hardware, the cartridges. They just run it through an emulator and just load the game onto the RAM.
I mean, to be fair, the mini NES is essentially an emulator. That's not
Yeah.
original hardware either, but
Well, yeah, but the thing is, Nintendo know what they're doing with emulation, as evidenced by Virtual Console.
granted. Whereas at games do not. What you're getting is a very, very cheap plastic shell, very shoddy build quality.
Mm.
The two controllers that come with it are fucking infrared wireless controllers.
Ugh,
Um,
the
the sh-
worst wireless connection ever. You get like a little bit of dust in front of it, and that interrupts the signal.
yeah, this is the shit we had in the mid '90s, where someone just walks across the front of the screen. Oh, gone.
Yeah,
A
it's like
fly lands on the controller. Oh, gone.
yeah, if you're going to do wireless, either have a proprietary connection or Bluetooth, or if you're not going to invest in that, just put a freaking wire in.
Thankfully, there do appear to be slots on the front for original wired controllers if you have them.
Yeah, but then if you have them, you probably have an original console.
In which case, you have no need for this piece of shit. Um, so
Exactly. And another thing as well is in regards to the emulation quality is terrible. The
I was
frame
about to
rates
get to that.
suck. Yeah.
The sound chip is awful.
I know. It's so bad. Like there's loads of reviews on YouTube. After you're done listening to us ramble, if you want to hear how bad the sound is, ugh.
There's direct comparisons, and some of them you can't even recognize it's the same piece of music. It's
Yeah.
it's that bad. And
It's a shame though, because like the portable ones, I was thinking, well, if someone had Mega Drive games on the go, like that'd be a cool, legally legit licensed way of doing it. Because Sega have actually licensed these things,
they
which
have,
yeah,
and I'm
which
surprised they have,
yeah,
considering the repeated poor quality. And the
hmm.
can I talk about the 80 games for a sec?
Yeah, sure. Sorry, I'll stop cutting you off.
That's fine. Um, there's not 80 games. There's 40 Mega Drive games and 80 pieces of 40 pieces of shovelware. So the other 40 games were not original titles for the Mega Drive. These are like your cheap, quick Chinese knockoff games just to pad the count out.
I so didn't think he was going to say shovelware.
What did you think I was going to say instead of shovelware?
Well, I just heard that and I was just like,
Oh, you were like, oh yeah, shit. Well, that
yeah,
applies too.
well, yeah, totally. And
And
on top of
they've
that as well,
swapped. Oh,
oh,
sorry. Go ahead.
I was
Go
going to
ahead.
say with the game selection on these at games things, they always vary in like based on which model you get as well. Like some they'll have like Streets of Rage 1, some will have 3, some will have 2. It's really inconsistent.
That's
Like
what I was about to say. They've
yeah,
swapped out some of the games on this model, and the Streets of Rage trilogy, three of the games have taken out.
yeah, that's really lame.
Yeah, that's one of the main reasons to play. Like Streets of Rage 3 is stupidly expensive on cartridge.
Hmm.
Yeah, but I would say to anybody considering getting one of these to say no. And if you don't already have a PS3 or Xbox 360, grab one of those for 20 quid, right? Then grab the Sega Mega Drive Ultimate Collection for a tenner,
Hmm.
and you've got just as many games in very high quality emulation through HDMI. Yeah, that's the way to go, and it would still work out cheaper because the at games ones are between 40 and 50, and you will have only spent around about 30 to 40 if you pick up, PS3 slash Xbox 360 with the Ultimate Collection. And the great
Yeah.
thing is, then you've got an Xbox 360 or a PS3 and a whole bunch of other games you can enjoy.
That's exactly it. It's such a good collection, and that basically has like all of the sort of rotation of actual games that are on these at game things. Like,
Yeah. And it's got bonuses as well. Like, there's a couple of arcade games, there's a couple of Master System games, there are interviews with the creators of all your favorites, video interviews. And, I mean, failing that, there's the Steam collection, which is still pretty damn good. The recent update to make it that you're looking around a 3D virtual 90s bedroom is amazing. And
yeah, and
that's
there's like these TV filters as well. So you got like these silly things you can play around with if you want to like have an interlacing effect and stuff like that.
you can like fishbowl the screen slightly to get like the bend of the glass on the old TVs. And the best thing is, it's got ROM hack support, so you
Yeah,
can
they had a
download
Steam
ROM
Workshop
hacks.
support.
Yeah, it's amazing. Um,
Yeah, it's like
and
Sega were like, well, this is happening anyway, so let's just condone it and then see if we can kind of get some goodwill sales.
and that as well. What you've got to remember is that you can. It's not a pack, so you get the hub, and then you can either buy one game at a time, you can buy small bundles of games, or for quite a reasonable price, you can just pay one amount and have all of them.
And it's
Um,
Steam; it goes on sale all the time. To be fair,
it really does. I think I got the whole pack for about £8,
mm.
which is every single game they do for that hub. It's amazing, and there are certain things in there. Like there's a Comic Zone one I admittedly use quite a lot, which uncensors it
Oh, cool.
and rebalances it.
Oh,
Yeah,
I've never gotten past the second level on that game. It's so hard.
I could get to it. It was like a ship kind of level. Anyway, a level with a ship,
Yeah.
and died. But it
Um,
did a lot of cool things that game.
Another thing as well is so there's those handheld ones, and you're thinking, well, that's a legitimate way to get them on a handheld. And I'm going to say PSP, and people are probably thinking instantly, oh, he's going to say emulation. There's actually a Mega Drive collection for PSP as well that's actually quite reasonable, and I think that's got like 30 games on it.
Yeah, there is actually. Yeah, because they released. I think they released that same collection on the PS2.
Yeah, it's that exact same
Yeah,
one.
yeah, that's not bad in
Hmm.
terms of stuff on the go.
Yeah.
Alternatively, there's the 3D classics they did for the 3DS.
Oh, yeah, I've actually got Sonic 1 through that. They're pretty good ports.
Well, there was a boxed collection of those released in Japan and North America. Europe's finally getting it this year between now and Christmas.
Oh, bloody hell, that I want it.
Yeah, it's got apparently one of the games on it. It's the first physical release of that Sega game in Europe. Can't remember
Yeah.
which of the games it is now.
Oh,
But yeah,
word.
so there are a lot of alternatives to these shitty fucking at games things.
Yeah. I'm just having a look at this now. The collection is included 9 classic games from the Sega Mega Drive, Giga Drive, and Master System. What the hell's the Giga Drive?
Was that all in one thing they did, where it could do Mega Drive 32X and Mega CD, but it was just the one unit? And then you could, if you really wanted to take the bulky thing around, you could use it as a Walkman too. Is it that one? Or is
Um,
that no? That's the multi mega, isn't it?
oh, apparently it's the emulator created by M2 for the classic series.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
Yeah, so let's see.
Yeah,
What's this?
it's okay. I already corrected myself in saying it was the multi mega I was thinking of. So it's fine.
Yeah. So let's see. We've got Sonic, Thunderblade, Galaxy Force 2, Altered Beast, Maze Walker, Power Drift, Fantasy Zone 2.
Sonic One is on there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Puyo 2, or Puyo Puyo, however you pronounce it.
I've always gone Puyo Puyo.
Yeah. Oh, that doesn't look like they're putting Space Harrier on there though, which is a shame because I know that's on the 3D Classics range.
If this sells well, maybe we'll get a volume two
Yeah, maybe.
with like Sonic the Hedgehog 2 and the other ones they've done.
Hmm. But
Did they do Streets of Rage?
um, I think they did Streets of Rage 2. I think they might
The
skip.
best one. They did
Yeah,
the best one.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, the cartridge of that is pretty pricey now. You're looking at like 20, £25 for that now.
Yeesh, I thought 3 was expensive at 40.
Yeah, oh god, I bet three's like 60 now, I'd imagine.
Oh, that's the point. With that compensation from the thing we were talking about earlier, I could get myself, finally, an original cartridge copy of Streets of Rage 3. I mean, it'd spend all of it in one shot, but it's money I wasn't expecting to have.
Would it feel worth it though? I mean, you've got playable versions of it.
And it is the worst game of the trilogy.
It really is. I mean,
Yeah,
even if you're playing as that new robot, which is makes it a little bit fun, the novelty wears off pretty quickly.
it does. I quite like playing it on one of the ROM hacks for the Mega Drive hub we were talking about a minute ago.
Oh yeah.
It swaps all the colors back to the original Japanese colors.
Oh yeah.
So Axel is back in his white shirt as he should be, not that fucking yellow thing.
Yeah, that looked weird.
Yeah, Blaze is back in red instead of white.
Hmm.
They swapped the sprites out for the shorter skirt sprites that were in the Japanese version. They put the
Oh,
Japanese bosses back in, so like that gay guy in the gimp outfit as one of the bosses, he's back.
cool.
And they rebalanced it,
Hmm.
so it's no longer as crushingly overly difficult. That's I found that to be the best way to play it.
Hmm.
It's significant. It's weird that the ROM hack is significantly better than the original.
Definitely. See, what we were saying earlier about like reasons why re-releases and HD releases are worthwhile, like this is a kind of thing to talk about as well. It's like content that originally we didn't get in this region restricted content. Like Kingdom Hearts was good for that. We got the final mix versions.
Oh yes. Although the final mix versions, when you boil it right down, if you can access that content, you're better at Kingdom Hearts than me.
Oh, really?
Like, yeah, one of the new dungeons in Kingdom Hearts 2, I can get about 3 rooms in, and then I am flat dead.
Yeesh.
It's like, well, I'm never making use of this optional content. And like the secret bosses that they added, I'm never gonna. Well, I have seen the cutscenes you get for beating them because I've YouTubed them. I'm never gonna beat those guys ever.
Oh.
That you fight one of the like Kingdom Hearts 1 Final Mix as an Organization 13 member that you can fight. And yeah, he just kicks my ass in seconds. I'm dead. He's worse than Sephiroth.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, that's possible. So no, and like Birth by Sleep, some of the stuff that they added into that secret boss wise, it's not. And what's weird is you've got to remember as well the European versions that we got originally. Um, they were sort of half-hearted final mixes. We got some of the additional content, some of the additional cutscenes, some of the additional bosses. For example, I believe Kurt Zeiser, however you pronounce it, the competition winner. Um, his secret boss in Agrabah wasn't in the original Japanese version. I
Huh.
don't know if it was in the US version. It was in the European version, and then it was added into the final mix version of the Japanese final mix. So yeah, it's kind of weird. There's content's a bit here, there, and everywhere on Kingdom Hearts.
Hmm. Oh,
At any
yeah.
rate, there are certain things as well that I prefer them not to fix. I know I keep harping on about the Dead Rising re-release, but I'm really fucking excited. Okay, um, like I don't want them to fix the really horrendous Survivor AI. I think that's part of the game's charm. I don't want them to fucking touch it.
That makes sense. I think with certain things like that, I think it's called when they offer like an option where like you can have original version or like an updated version, so you can like choose that at the start.
Like Halo Anniversary Edition. Did we have this exact same discussion verbatim last week? I'm starting to
Maybe,
think we said these exact same words in this exact same order a week ago.
yeah. Or like earlier when I was playing Pokemon Uranium and there was a Nuzlocke option.
Yeah, yeah. Put it in there. Don't force it on people. Fine. Happy medium. So speaking of additional content,
Hmm.
the Witcher 3 Game of the Year edition is coming out.
Uh-huh.
Or in some territories, it's going to be the Witcher 3 Complete Edition. And some people are excited and happy, and some people are a little bit sad. And the reason is very simple. The game saves from the vanilla version are not going to be compatible with the Game of the Year edition. So people who want a physical copy of something that has all the DLC on, they're going to have to start over. Or keep both versions, which is just going to be weird.
Yeah.
People who may have traded in The Witcher 3 after playing it through the first time, they won't be able to pick up from where they left off. Now, people who are very happy about this are trophy whores and trophy hunters, because it's a separate trophy list, so they can earn all the trophies again and get a platinum again. Yeah, I can't believe I used to achievement and trophy whore. I feel ashamed of myself when I see shit like this.
Yeah, you've told us the Batman Arkham story before.
I wasn't even going to go there.
No, but
I know it gets on your tits, so I was just going to leave it.
It's fine. I think you've put in 6 podcasts now. It's fine. We can leave that one.
6 podcasts and 3 Let's Plays.
Cripes.
Yeah.
So, but although I do want to ask about that, so I'm guessing, like, I know you had separate achievements for those. I'm guessing the saves were kept separate on those as well.
Yeah, that's correct.
I guess that would be silly if the saves carried over. Otherwise, it would be stupidly easy to trophy whore.
But it's actually, well, if the saves carried over, then the likelihood is that the trophy data would be the same, and then the trophies wouldn't re-unlock.
Oh yeah, true.
Now, we have actually had an explanation from CD Projekt Red, because CD Projekt Red are very fucking good at what they do, especially public relations, in my view. So they came out and they said that it's beyond their control. They don't get a choice in it for console versions, and I should mention this only affects the console versions. They said the reason is that the system, so the Xbox One and the PlayStation 4, recognizes the disc as a separate game. It's got a separate entry in sort of the PlayStation 4's library, catalog, whatever you want to call it. So because it recognizes it as a different game altogether, that's why it then can't access the save data or the trophy data from the previous version. And this is why other Game of the Year editions, for example, when I had to play Arkham City twice on the PlayStation 3, had the exact same issue. So it's nice to actually, although we've been in this situation before, it's nice to finally have someone fucking tell us why. And it also explains why it doesn't affect Game of the Year editions where they give you essentially the exact same disc, and then they just give you a voucher or a download code for the DLC, which really pisses me off, because if you ever buy those used,
I know.
Or let's talk about, 20 years in the future when you can't fucking download it anymore. There's no physical media version. So suddenly that content becomes lost to future generations.
Yeah, if you're gonna do a Game of the Year edition, put the content on the bloody disc. I think what my favourite one was on 360, but it was also probably something that made developers a bit annoyed with themselves for doing it. You get the game disc, which was exactly the same as vanilla, and then you get a second game disc that was just an install disc with the extra content, and you just install it to the hard drive with no code needed or anything, and you could just put it on as many consoles as you wanted.
Hello, Oblivion. How are you today?
Yeah, Fallout 3 and New Vegas did that as well. Sanctuary the Third.
Basically, Bethesda games did it.
Yeah, so then obviously people were taking advantage of that, and was less people buying the GOTY editions or the DLC.
But that wasn't an issue on PlayStation 3, wherein, because they were using Blu-ray discs, it all fits on the one disc anyway, so there's only one disc in the case for those releases.
Exactly.
There's no separate install disc, which means you buy the fucking game.
Yeah.
Those are your options.
Yeah, or like GTA 4, like they did it. I think there was a complete edition you could get of that, if I remember correctly. Like, because I know they had sold a separate, like, standalone expansion disc of the Liberty City story things. I think they did a complete edition as well, where it was like 2 separate discs, but they both just worked as standalone game discs.
Well, it'll be fine. They'll work it out. It's just nice to finally have a developer give us an explanation. I mean, I'm not going to get to this. I'll probably download the season pass at some point when it goes on sale, but I'm still barely 7 hours in to The Witcher 3. I just
Yeah, the
it
vanilla game
requires a
was
lot more
massive,
than I can give
apparently.
it. Yeah, it's huge. It's fucking phenomenally huge, and I would love to be able to get lost in it, but I just can never find the time.
That's my situation in Fallout 4. Like, I keep just wanting to get back into it, but then it's one of those games where I
See,
don't
I
do it
can't
small
get into
bits.
it to start with.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we've talked about this, dude.
Yeah, I think we have. No, it's just I forgot briefly for a moment, but then because I just remembered you being really into Fallout 3 at one point.
Yeah, Fallout 3 got me, but then New Vegas just felt like more of the same, or an expansion pack, which is fine. That's essentially what it was.
Hmm.
Um, and then Fallout 4 again. It's just not like I've had my fill of Fallout. I'm good for Fallout. I don't need seconds. I'm all right.
Yeah, I
You
think.
know,
Yeah,
I
for
am sated.
see, like I found that Fallout 4 felt like the least Fallout game of the series, and I've never been a big Fallout fan, but this one appealed to me because it sort of strayed away from the series formula, so that's why I think I got into it a bit more.
Maybe
Which,
that's why I can't.
yeah, that could be it. Because I mean, there was a bit more sort of slower pacing, like, and more encouragement to use the VAT system in 3, whereas in 4, I hardly ever use VATs.
Fair enough. But yeah. So anyone who was thinking of buying The Witcher 3 because it's going on sale a lot now, simply because retailers know this thing is coming, just wait a couple of weeks and let this come out and grab that. This has been your public service announcement. Um, should we have a look at these fan questions from Koshoro?
Yeah, certainly. Do you want me to start, or do you want to read it?
Oh no, you take the honors. How many are there?
Let's see. One, two, three, four. Oh, we got four of them.
Four. Okay, that's fine.
So the first one is: are there any genres, whether they be genres of movies, books, video games, or any other media, that you feel need more love?
I'm going to go with movies, and I'm going to go with slacker movies. There's a few of them, but I haven't seen a good slacker movie in a while. There's like
Hmm.
Seth Rogen sort of did a couple of slacker movies, but they didn't feel like. I'm talking stuff like Empire Records. Like I haven't watched an Empire Records in a while. I haven't seen one come out in a while. Do you know what I mean?
I don't think I've actually seen Empire Records.
Oh, for fuck's sake!
Are you
Um,
talking stuff like Clerks, that kind of thing?
you could put Clerks on the list. Yeah, certainly. Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. You could put most of Kevin Smith's stuff on the list, really. So the king of the slacker movies. Um,
Yeah,
I guess you could sort of count Bill and Ted and Wayne's World.
yeah. There's even
Yeah,
a movie that's just called Slacker.
is there? I've not seen that.
Yeah, it's kind of an interesting one. If I remember correctly, they did this thing that a lot of people hyped Birdman for doing, where it's all filmed in like one continuous shot, but like it sort of focuses on one person, and then they sort of have a quick interaction with someone, and then it focuses on that next person as they go off somewhere, and it just kind of goes like that in a weird pace.
Hmm. Might have to check it out.
Mm.
Um, and the other one would also be another movie genre would be buddy cop films. I really miss like Lethal, for example. I rewatched Lethal Weapons 1 through 4 quite regularly.
Yeah.
They don't make them anymore, and I get it because some of the humor's a bit you can't say or do that, but I miss it.
I think my favorite, most recent buddy cop film that I've seen, and I think it's a few years old now. It stars Mark Wahlberg and Will Ferrell, the other guys.
Yeah, no,
You didn't like it?
no, no, I didn't. Uh, Jump Street was all right. I like 21 and 22 Jump Street,
Oh God, yes, I love those films.
but I think I would have loved it even more if they'd have gone proper full on 80s.
I get what you mean.
Yeah, and I do especially love as well at the end of 22 Jump Street when they just go through like 100 sequels back to back. Jump Street in space.
Yeah. Oh God. And when there's when they've got Seth Rogen in Jonah Hill's place, like what?
Yeah, I'm not different. I'm not different. I'm the same guy I've always been.
Yeah.
But yeah, I suppose you could kind of count What was that apocalypse one where they talk about raping Emma Watson and they were around James Franco's house?
Oh,
And
this is the end.
yeah, and they show you the devil's stick. Like, not quite that. That wasn't.
Yeah, you're not
That
selling it very well when you talk about raping Emma Watson.
no apologies, but like
uh,
that wasn't that kind of tone. But when it's in a more mundane, realistic setting, not the fucking apocalypse. You know what I mean?
yeah, basically, just kind of you want something that's a bit more settled down rather than being sort of very in your face, if I'm understanding
Yeah,
correctly.
I don't know how we went from Slacker to Buddy Cop and then seamlessly back to Slacker again. I'm quite impressed.
Yeah.
It is a jump street to this is the end. This, yeah, fantastic. Um, Video games have pretty much. I don't know if mascot 3D platformers, ukulele will fill that gap for a little while.
Oh
It's,
God, yes.
yeah, and it'll be it's gonna fill it so well. God, that sounded fucking dirty, didn't it?
Oh, good gracious.
Um, how about you?
Movies. I really have a massive soft spot for films that kind of have this sort of cheesy pseudo aesthetic for like 80s kind of stuff. So, like, one I watched recently was called Turbo Kid, and it's kind of set in this alternate reality where, like, in the 80s there was an apocalypse, and this kid's like going around salvaging scrap and stuff. And I don't know. I don't know. It's kind of silly but serious at the same time. It's really hard to describe. I'm just trying to think of other films in that sort of category where like they sort of have a kind of aesthetic that's sort of really kind of nostalgic for their time, but like Hackers, for instance. I really enjoyed Hackers. Have you ever seen that?
Yes, and I can tell by the way, it's incredibly obvious that you're a fucking media student right now.
Really?
Yes.
um, yeah. So I don't know. I just have a soft spot for cheesy shit, really. War Games. Freaking love that film. So I guess with Hackers,
Oh, for a moment there, I thought you were moving into what you missed from video games. I thought you were like, war games. I was going to say, we've got fucking hundreds of war games. Call of Duty every year.
oh, good God, no! I don't know. I just haven't gotten into a good sci-fi film in ages. Like, I, d- I don't know. I guess like War Games and Hackers are films that a lot of people sort of look at as kind of relatively bad films, but like they just have a charm to them. I guess it's films with a just sort of a standout charm that I like.
What about King of the Nerds?
You know, I've not seen that.
I'm pretty sure it's still on Netflix.
Oh, really? Okay, I'll have
Yeah.
to give that a gander.
Or is it Revenge of the Nerds or something? Check Netflix. Have a look. You'll probably
Yeah.
find it.
Um.
And remind me to lend you Empire Records. I think you'd really like it.
Alrighty.
Yeah.
Um. One film genre, I will just quickly say I'm not. Yeah, I don't. I'm not saying I don't want them to come back, but I don't see myself being a partaker of them. Is like teen movies like American Pie, because like I don't know. I think when you're a teen, you're sort of like watching them. It's like, oh, ha, ha, look at our generation. But when you're an adult watching them, it's just like it's kind of weird.
It's cringy.
Yeah, although I did watch American Pie Reunion, where it's following them now that they're adults themselves, so that was okay.
That sounds weird. I'm not sure I'd want to see it.
What American Pie? You've not seen an American Pie Reunion?
No.
I got sad watching that because it was just like, oh, they're all old now, and like they're realizing they have to be adults and stuff, and like it's relatable. And I was like,
I
oh,
think the last one I watched was The Wedding.
right,
Yeah.
yeah. After the wedding, that's when they just went off doing all these other random ones, like
All the ones starring Jim's dad.
yeah, starring Jim's dad and like Stifler's cousins.
Ugh.
Yeah,
So
but
people trying way too hard to be Stifler who aren't Stifler.
pretty much, yeah. But when they went back to reunion, that was the original cast, so that was all right.
Okay. I might look into it then, but can I just go to books again for 1 second?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. It concerns comics specifically, but I I only know of two series, and they're both manga that actually are about creating comics. So Bakuman, which I've talked about before, I'm sure. So my
Yes.
go-to feel-good anime manga. It's so fucking good, and it gets me right in the mood to draw some damn comics.
It gets
Um,
me in the mood to write.
Oh, that's handy.
Yeah.
And the other one is Comic Party. Um, I don't know of any other comics that are about making comics.
Oh,
And I'm not talking tutorial books like McCloud's How to Make Comics or anything like that. I'm talking this is a narrative about people trying to make their own comics.
yeah.
Yeah. Um, so that, but that's me done on that one. I don't know if you've got any to add to yours.
Um, Another thing I just want to mention is movies that kind of take the medium that they're remediating and sort of really apply the aesthetic for it. I have a soft spot for that kind of thing. So,
What like the what's
like,
the one with the girl? She's got instead of a leg, she's got a machine gun.
oh, that's Planet Terror. I wasn't so much thinking of that. I'm more thinking
No.
things like Scott Pilgrim, for instance, where it
Oh,
has
okay.
it has like the nice little graphical overlays for certain bits.
Oh, that's a movie where just for the special effects, as soon as we got a Blu-ray player, I bought it again.
Mm. I've got a steelbook of that one. I love that film.
Oh, the comics are pretty good. Have you read them?
I do want to at some point. I will do, but
I've got them. Next time you're up.
sounds like a plan.
Yeah.
What else? I remember there was this one scene in one of the Kick-Ass films where they're speaking in a different language. I think they're speaking Chinese, and they actually have a comic bubble, speech bubble pop up for the subtitles.
Oh, I remember you doing something similar to this when you were doing the comic artist interviews at MCM for your uni project.
Yeah, I was trying.
Yeah.
That was
You're
the
trying to emulate that to a degree.
Yeah, that was my
Yeah.
inspiration behind that. So
Oh,
I didn't execute it as well as I wanted to, but it served the purpose for being a student film. So
well,
yeah,
if you're comparing yourself to a film that's got, professionals with years' experience, then it's never going to seem quite the same. I think you did okay for your skill level and experience at the time.
it's one of those. Yeah, thank you by the way. It's one of
I
those
didn't
things.
say good. I said okay.
Well, it's more the case of I was comparing it to what I had in my mind. It just didn't come out like that. I
Oh no,
remember
that's
you.
dangerous. That's
Yeah.
very dangerous.
Yeah, I saw you share a thing on Facebook the other day where it's just like, why can't this look like what I have in my head?
The other day, the other week,
The other
dude.
week, yeah.
Yeah, your perception of time is screwed lately. Uh,
Yeah. What does he say? Games. I haven't really gotten into a good new fighting game in ages. Part of the reason for that is just the fact that, like the latest Tekken games, all the characters have just been unlocked straight away. So in terms of single play, there's just not really been any incentive for me to get through it because, like, what am I getting?
that's what you might like then. Street Fighter Five. It's all right. It's good. And the characters, you can either play through the various modes. So each time you do a match in online or versus or story, there is no arcade mode still. Um, or the story mode, etc. You get something called fight money,
Oh yeah.
and you can either buy the new characters with fight money, meaning you have to keep playing the game and earn them, or you can just whack down your credit card details and buy them with real money. So for you, actually, that would be your incentive right there, would be to earn the fight money and say "fuck you" microtransactions.
That would be pretty cool. It's just I've never been a big fan of the Street Fighter games the way they handle. Like I think they're okay. Like I've got no criticism against them, but I grew up on Tekken and Mortal Kombat. It's kind of
See, whereas I'm all over Street Fighter and I can't get used to Mortal Kombat, which is a shame because I would love to play Injustice properly and I just can't.
to be honest, Injustice I found kind of meh really. Like I don't know, part of the appeal of Mortal Kombat as well as like how it handles for me is obviously the gore.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, gratuitous violence. I mean that's why nobody wanted the Super Nintendo version of one.
This is true.
That's why
Um,
nobody wanted Mortal Kombat versus DC Universe.
Also true.
Yeah.
So tell me, Terry,
Yep.
what is your favorite mythological creature? Which is the second of Kishara's questions.
Oh.
I've got one if you're stuck.
Yeah, go ahead with yours because I am stuck.
I've actually got a favorite and a second favorite.
Oh bloody
Um,
hell!
so my favorite is Leviathan.
Oh
It's
yeah.
it's a water dragon. How much cooler can you get? And the summon for Leviathan in Final Fantasy VIII was really badass. And I remember having the promo disc demo where you were doing the seed exam, but you had Renault in your party for some reason,
Oh
even
yeah.
though in the final game she doesn't join you until much later. And for some reason, she's got the Leviathan summon in that demo. So just running through that demo several times before the actual game came out, summoning Leviathan was pretty cool. It's an awesome creature in general.
Hmm.
With the second favorite being Cyclops. And I'm surprised you didn't start laughing because you already know the reason.
Oh shit.
Yeah. So for those who have completely missed the in-joke there, um, my left eye doesn't work. It's medically underdeveloped. There is a much more complicated explanation, but I don't fully understand it. The basics are that my left eye follows something around a room, tracks it. It reacts to light, the pupils dilate and everything, but either that information isn't getting back to my brain or my brain isn't doing anything with the information from that eye.
Huh.
So effectively, like if my right eye is covered, all I get is a very, very thin, narrow strip of like grey and black, smudgy shapes. Like if I'm in a place that I'm familiar with, like if I'm at home or at the office, I could probably navigate a room like it, but I wouldn't want to.
Hmm.
But it also means like my depth perception is crazy bad. So yeah, I kind of like the Cyclops because it's a one-eyed monster and I have one functioning eye. It's that simple.
Well, fair.
Yeah. Has that given you any time to think if the examples helped at all?
I
Or do
guess
you want to take a pass?
I don't know. I guess chimeras are all right. Like they're part lion, part goat, and part snake, so that's quite a lot. Although I guess that's kind of a clusterfuck.
What about a griffin then? That's like part lion, part eagle.
Oh yeah, actually that's quite cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll go with a griffin.
I
What?
feel like I'm in a shop selling you something. It's like,
uh,
okay, if you feel like that's overkill, we also stock griffins.
I'd like the idea of having a Cerberus that I could tame. It's like, oh, good three-headed doggy.
Where would you keep it though?
I know that would be the issue.
Then again, why would I keep a fucking
Uh,
Leviathan?
it's like Cerberus is always so angry in like all fiction I've seen them in or like heard of them in. And I was just like, but they're doggies. Doggies are happy.
You just want to scratch it behind the ear,
Yeah,
tickle its tummy.
yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah, just to sort of shed a bit more light onto this answer for those listening. So I've got a little pug chihuahua crossbreed, and anyone who follows me on Instagram, they're just going to see at least one or two pictures of her every day.
I swear, you take more photos of that dog than you would a girlfriend.
Oh,
You know when people have babies, right? Because our
yeah,
friendship group are getting to the age where we're all having kids and shit. I mean, fuck, I've got two of them.
yeah.
And I've been just as bad for this. 100 photos of their kids every single day. That's you and this fucking dog. All right.
Yeah, and every now and again, one of the hedgehog as well.
Poor hedgehog. It's like the second child. Not as many photos of you.
No, it's more the fact that she likes to just kind of have her own alone time sometimes. Like she appreciates not being pestered too often.
Okay,
So,
she's a fussy lady.
pretty much, yeah. She's got her own little
She's
temperament.
prickly.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Whereas the dog just will not leave me alone.
All right, so you've got a Cerberus or a Griffin. Moving on then.
A
If you
Cerberus
were
with pug faces.
uh, one of my friends would love that. Sarah Millman, if you're listening, Cerberus with pug faces. You're welcome.
All the nasal
She's
problems.
probably not listening. To be fair. Um, so if you were able to permanently remove anything from existence off of this planet, what would it be? Oh, I get an existential here.
Oh, jeez. Right-wing ideology and politics. I'll leave it at
So I
that.
was just going to go for something like famine and disease.
Yeah. Thing is,
You know, your
as far as I'm
typical.
concerned, the right wing are the cause of that, so I feel like I'm eradicating the root cause. Well, not disease, but the famine, I mean.
Okay. Right. Okay. Fine. No further questions, Your Honor.
Yeah. Oh God, what else would I get rid of? I don't know. I guess if it was
DRM.
yeah. I don't know. I guess if it was literally anything, like I don't know, get rid of the fact that like everything we do harms the planet, so then that way we could just do whatever we want and there's no repercussion.
Sorry, you sounded like an entitled millennial just then. I want to be able to do what I want and not face the consequences. Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's what everyone wants. To be fair, we don't get
Yeah.
it, but we want it.
I'm becoming an old man in that I'm starting to resent the generation coming in behind me, and they drive me up the bloody wall, and I don't like them.
See, I'm still in that mindset of the older generation are pissing me off because they're like, "Oh, your generation has it so easy." It's like, yeah, you had a fucking housing market where you could buy a house at minimum wage. Fuck you. Sorry, that was me hating
Yeah.
on the right wing again.
In case anyone couldn't tell, Terry Viz to the left. We should
Yeah,
be careful. We might get an American viewer saying, "Does that mean he's gay?"
like like all I'll say at this point is like America gets so much shit for their politics, their gun laws, for their right wing policies from like pretty much every country around the world. But right now, even if they vote Trump in, they'll still be just as bad as the UK for Brexit, not worse.
Let's not go there.
Yeah, that's. I'll just leave that at that.
All right. So I'll get rid of famine and disease. You'll get rid of what you believe is the root cause of it, which is the right wing. Um, I think really we just where's the middle wing? Like I don't want to be on the right wing or the left wing. I want to be in the plane in a fucking seat. That's where I want to be.
uh,
um, yeah, preferably with a pilot. You know, if we're on the wings, we're fucked. Unless you Sonic on Tails' biplane, in which case you do what the fuck you like because you do not care for physics.
See, now don't get me wrong. The far left are a bunch of Tumblr whining little bitches, but they're easier to handle than a bunch of neo Nazis.
Although the neo Nazis do get shit done, I've got to
Yeah,
say.
the shit they get done isn't really what is in the best interest of anyone, part of themselves.
It's in the best interests of the rich, elite, and powerful.
Yeah, and white.
We don't count ourselves among them, so yes, we feel resentment towards that. But hey, we also don't fund their campaign trails, so we're not their friends and they're not going to look after our interests. All right, let's get away from politics. Let's move to. I'm going to do the next question just to get us off fucking politics.
Please, yes.
Um,
Before I carry on.
if you were in charge of making a sequel or spiritual successor to any given console, what would you choose and why? He says personally he would choose the Neo Geo Pocket Color.
Oh,
Don't say Dreamcast 2. We've had
no.
that joke. That's been driven into the ground.
Yeah, there's no point. All of Sega's IPs are just like, linked in contract deals with the current console providers. There's no point.
Yeah.
I don't know. I
I
think
don't know.
uh,
I'm having a bit of a panic because my microphone stand just fell off my desk. I've caught it.
oh,
I'm holding it one-handed in place. Um, I
well,
don't know what the fuck has happened.
we're having a calamitous evening, aren't we?
Oh god, there it goes. You carry on while I try and fix this.
Sorry, I was just making a tune to go with your sound, just like, yeah.
I tried to catch it, okay?
um, yeah. I don't know. Neo Geo was the Neo Geo line made by SNK?
Yes.
Yeah. See,
Sorry, the microphone's a little way away from me while I try and fix this, so I'm shouting.
um, I'm just because all I'm remembering is that Neo Geo Gold thing that came out. I can't remember when. It was fairly recent. Do you know the thing I'm talking about?
It was basically a reissuing.
It was well. the thing I'm thinking of, it was basically it was a handheld that played emulated Neo Geo games, and you could put an SD card in with like ROMs to play whatever you wanted. And there was this base unit, but literally all the base unit was is you just stuck the handheld controller inside, and you had this big clunky joystick to use.
Okay, I was thinking of a few conventions. I saw this thing, which was like a Neo Geo re-release of the home console. That's what I thought you were referring to.
Right.
Clearly not. You're referring to
Nah,
the handheld.
this thing, it had a base unit that was made to look like the console, and it even looked like it had a cartridge slot, but it actually didn't. It had this weird lid that opens up, and then you just like shove the handheld into like this headphone port and this HDMI port and like the power adapter port, and then it just connects to the base unit. It was like so bad. The emulation, the sound was off. It was like an At Games thing. So
Hey, nice
yeah.
referring back. I like that. Well done. You
Yeah.
did good.
So I don't know. I guess at the moment, because of the fact that like Nintendo are doing their own thing, Sony and Microsoft are sort of competing backwards and forwards. There's PC doing their thing, and well, not their thing, but you know, its thing. I guess PC's a weird entity, so I don't feel like there's any gap for like a new console to come in. I think what I would like to see. Again, going back to that games, is a decent one of those that is actually competition for the NES Mini.
Agreed. I'm fully on board with what you said about I don't want a new console right now. I really don't. I'm good. I'm covered. I've got what I need. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, I genuinely, if there's a spiritual successor to a console right now, and I was in charge of that project, I'd say don't bother.
Mm,
So let's take our money and produce some games as a third-party developer and just publish that on the existing platforms. Sort of like
yeah,
what Sega are doing.
exactly. I mean,
Yeah.
if anything, actually, one thing I would like to see is some kind of box release thing, like you know the a better version of the At Games Mega Drive or like an NES Mini, but something like that for the Saturn because we're not seeing that many Saturn re-releases.
That and the lasers for the discs go in Saturns quite badly. A lot of them are dying now.
Yeah, although do you remember that thing that Richie showed us the other day where the guy modded it to run games from SD cards? That looked pretty awesome.
That did. It's finally been cracked, and that's going to open up a lot of things, and hopefully will improve the lifespan of the Sega Saturns we do have in circulation. I'm lucky mine still works.
Yeah, and also if it makes emulation a lot easier, which the guy was hinting that it would, then hopefully that would be helpful to Sega in actually porting over some of the old Saturn games to current platforms like PC and the new consoles.
They managed to do a good job on Knights, but then they were already working on a. They'd ported it from Sega Saturn to PlayStation 2, and then it was the PlayStation 2 version they ported to PC.
Yeah, exactly. That was a bit of a big job, really.
Hmm.
Like, you know, we saw House of the Dead 2 and 3 on the Wii, but number 1 was nowhere to be seen like on that release. We haven't seen original Panzer Dragoon anywhere.
Oh God! Right. R- HD re-releases I would like to see. Panzer fucking Dragoon. Not paying
Yeah.
120 quid for Panzer Dragoon Saga. You scalp and I'm not going to say the other word. I almost said a very bad word. We swear on this podcast. We do not swear like
Yeah.
that.
Although I will say I managed to get a disc copy of Panzer Dragoon installed on my Windows 10 system. Bearing in mind this is a disc release from like Windows 98 XP days. Bloody worked.
You're shitting me.
It actually worked. The only problem is every now and again it will like drop at the occasional frame, and on top of that it's keyboard controls.
Okay.
But the fact that it worked surprised me, and in regards to the controls, if I do a bit of fiddling around with Xpadder, I could get something going with that.
Yeah, XPad is pretty much required for certain PC games I find, especially fucking Tomb Raider.
Yeah, that's the thing with older games back in the days before X inputs. Yeah,
Yeah.
but
So essentially, you'd like to see a proper Mega Drive Mini or a Sega Saturn Mini, and I don't want a new console.
yeah, same. In regards to the Mega Drive Mini, like those ones that have the cartridge slot on, the thing with collecting old games is the consoles aren't the expensive part; it's the games themselves. So like when I see things like the Retron 5, I'm just thinking, well, I guess if you want it in HDMI, that's kind of cool. But if you use a decent SCART lead from your old console, then it'll look just as good if you have a decent TV.
Depends how your TV handles the upscaling, I guess.
That's what I say if you have a decent TV.
Yeah. But no, so those are the fan questions.
Yeah.
And actually, that is the entire topic list. So before we say goodnight to everybody, is there anyone you would like to give a shout out to?
Uh, Kisharago, nice to hear from you again. Thanks for the questions. If you could
Ditto.
if you could give us more
Yeah.
for next week, because I'm going to be cheeky and ask for them. Go ahead. Lupacillo, hope you're still alive. Richie, hope you can join us next time.
I purposely didn't mention his absence. I was like, I'll be nice for once because I was a proper dick to him last week, and I know he's got stuff going on.
Yeah,
So
no, I know that wasn't a dig. That was just we
if
like
it's
having you with us.
convenient for you, we'd love to have you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyone you want to shout out to?
Um. Well, Richie, as we just did, you've already took Kosharaga and Lupacillo.
I'll say
So I would
next time.
actually I'd shout out to, and these guys will not be listening, I know that much. Pat and Ian from the Completely Unnecessary podcast gets me through a good 2 hours of the day. Really interesting topics. And damn it, Ian, we need part 3 of the Stalker story now. For those who don't know, look up. I think the easiest way to find it is to just search ranch dressing completely unnecessary podcast. It's a two-parter so far, and there's a part 3 on the way. It's I've not laughed so hard while also cringing internally for a very long time. Yeah, that covers me though. Oh, and 8-Bit Planet in Bristol, great little shop. I finally have a retro gaming store, a decent one, within a reasonable distance of me. So it's just nice to have, you know. And they're good people in there too. They do gaming nights and everything. So if you're in Bristol, check out 8-Bit Planet. Pretty decent. They're not regenerating gaming. I don't think they ever will be, but they are damn good and they're reasonably priced. A good selection of stock, not great. The store's not got the floor space for it to be a great selection of stock. But yeah, I like it. I got a really nice Sonic statue from them as well.
Ooh, nice.
Yeah, I sent you a photo of it when I got it.
Oh yeah, I think I remember. You have a
It's
lot of
it's the
Sonic statues,
first
to be fair.
True. It's the first four figures classic Sonic in his run pose. Um,
Okay.
it's modeled after the one they used to put on a lot of promotional material.
Hmm.
Because yeah, I messaged you at the time I got it saying you're gonna hate me, and I sent you a photo of it when we stopped for some food at a cafe,
Oh
and
yeah.
then you hated me. Yeah. Um, but yeah, thank you to everyone for listening. Huge shout out to everyone who does listen to us. And we will see you when we next do one of these recordings. Good night, everybody.
Good night.